That's so funny. How did I get muted? Okay, we'll start that again. Hello, welcome to Real Talk with Mary Grace. This is Mary Grace Media, and we are live. And somehow we got muted a minute ago. So it looks like there's a little bit of a delay here. You should be hearing me now. It is Thursday, the 13th of May, 2021, and I'm happy to be coming to you live. We are on Facebook and YouTube and Cloud Hub. So it's Mary Grace Media, channel 111 on Cloud Hub. Please make sure that you like this and share it. Copy the link, drop it into different rooms that you belong to, and join the fun. So if you're on Facebook, please share this into groups. And also remember to tag your friends and coworkers and friends on Facebook, anybody that you are connected with. And then also on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button. And then also make sure you hit the bell so that you don't miss an episode. And we are going to have a good show today. There's a lot going on, as usual. Isn't it fun having President Trump back? Um, Basically, mean tweeting again. Except now he's not limited and he's not censored because he has his own platform, and he just says whatever he wants. And then we don't have to deal with the trolls responding to his tweets. So it's awesome. It's great. And Don Jr. put out an interesting little meme yesterday on Instagram. He said, "Oh, thank you, Marion." He goes, "I sure could go for a mean tweet and $1.79 gas right now." Did you see that? I shared this in my Telegram. So pretty good, huh? um, yeah. So we've got Savage Trump back, and who's excited about that? I'm pretty excited about it. Let me read you the latest one. Hey, Delia. Hey, I got your email, Delia. I knew that you were. I knew what was going on when you were bringing up that topic, so it was fine. Thank you. Let's see. So his latest statement is so good. I mean, all of it's good, but he this is what he said about the Republicans are trying to pick a new party leader and Republican House leader, right? So he says, can't imagine Republican House members would go with Chip Roy. He has not done a great job and will probably be successfully primaried in his own district. I support Elise by far over Chip. So, in case you haven't figured it out, President Trump is basically running the Republican Party right now. He's restructuring it. He's reforming it. I think I remember right when all of this started happening. Um, when all of this started happening, the a lot of you were talking about a third party, and I put the kibosh on it, and I said, listen, we can't have a third party. The only way that I would get behind a third party is if President Trump is behind it and endorsing it. Well, it should be pretty clear to you by now that President Trump is not endorsing a third party, that he is taking over and reforming the Republican Party, and there is a schism that is brewing within the Republican Party. And if anything, what he's going to do is he's going to force the rhinos and the never Trumpers out. And at this point, it should be clear to you that never Trump is equivalent with anti-American. That when we say that they're never Trump, what we mean is they're never patriot, never nationalist, never you. They are 100% globalist, warmongering, Chamber of Commerce, anti American citizen. That is what they are. And so, whenever you hear that somebody is a never Trumper, you just picture how much they hate you, the average American, the middle American, the flyover country, the people who have boat parades and fly the Trump flag and fly the American flag and fly the police flag at their houses. And so that's what we mean when we say never Trump. It's not just about President Trump, it's about you, it's about we the people. So they're anti we the people. They are 100% about globalist donor class, big money, C Club membership. That's what they're about. And so they don't care about you. They are the Mitt Romneys of the world, the Mitt Romneys and the Liz Cheneys who sit around and laugh at your misfortune and start endless wars and perpetuate endless wars. That's what these people are. So don't have any mistaken notions about whether they care about you, no matter what words come out of their mouth. They know how to talk the talk. They do not walk the walk. And so President Trump is taking over the Republican Party and he's reforming it. And so that alone should give you a lot of encouragement because President Trump is, if nothing else, he's extremely pragmatic. He doesn't waste time. He doesn't waste money. He's actually pretty frugal and thrifty. And so, why does that matter? Why it matters is because he wouldn't be wasting his time endorsing people and having meetings and sending memos from the desk of Donald Trump, President Trump, if he didn't know that things are on the mend and that it's going to be worth it for you and me to stay in the game and to keep up the fight. Who agrees with me on that? I think it's a pretty safe. It's a pretty safe assessment at this point. Okay, he's there's no way that he would still be talking to us and that he would be as engaged as he is without knowing something more than what we know right now. Okay. All right. Let me see. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about. And hey, Millie, good to see you. Okay. There's so much happening right now. Okay, I want to talk that the theme of my show today is send me. And it's kind of been the theme that I've been working on all week in case you haven't noticed, and that is that we are in a time right now where we the people are waking up, and it's past time for that to happen, and it's a really important time. And you know, God is waking up America. God is waking up the world, and it's very exciting. And so I want to encourage you and I want to tell you some stories about some people that I've been hearing about and some things that God is doing because I really want I want to give you I want to impart to you the mantle of courage that's been given to me. People say that I'm brave. People say that, I have a lot of guts to do what I do, which it's kind of funny to me that people think that. But whatever it is, whatever courage it is, whatever chutzpah it is, I want to impart that to you because I have the blessing and the pleasure of being around people who are also uh, who are also doing taking up the mantle and doing the things that God is calling them to do and taking imperfect action and doing certain things that nobody ever thought they would do. Okay, and so I want to take you all the way back to the Old Testament because we're not the first ones who are being given the call, and I'm going back to the book of Isaiah, chapter 6, verse 8. And this is, 6 chapters in to the prophecy and to the revelation that God is giving Isaiah. And up until this point, Isaiah has witnessed some pretty devastating things. So if anybody has a right to be disheartened, it's Isaiah, right? And so uh Hineni is the Hebrew word for here I am, send me. Did I say that right? Hineni. Somebody on YouTube just commented that. Okay, so here's the verse. Isaiah 6, verse 8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, here I am, send me. And he said, go and tell this to the people. And so God calls, and Isaiah hears his voice, and this is after everything that Isaiah has already seen, and after what he's witnessed, without hesitation, he says, "Here I am, send me." So this is important because Isaiah wasn't anybody special. He was a man who was just listening to the voice of God. And when God gave the call, he said, here I am, send me. And I had, I've had the privilege the last few days of watching and seeing some things that people are doing for God, for our country. And it's really just given me a lot of encouragement because I'm seeing everyday people take up the calling and the mantle to make America great again. And some of these people are in the trenches. Some of these people are in places that you or I have never been, maybe never will go, and would be absolutely shocked and devastated to know even exist in America. And one of those places is Chicago. I know that we hear on the news, well, we hear on real news about the violence in Chicago. We hear about what's happening in the streets. We hear about the dangers, the gun violence, the black on black crime, and of course, the lamestream media is never going to tell you about this. They're going to lecture you, and they're going to highlight mass shootings that fit their narrative. And so most Americans really don't have any idea what's going on in that city, me included. I don't have firsthand knowledge, but I was introduced last night on a call, on a Zoom call, to an individual who actually produced a film about Chicago. It's a documentary, and this is a man named Pastor Dimas Salaberos, and he's produced a movie called Chicago: America's Hidden War. And there's a website you can look up. It's called Chicago's Hidden War. And the film has it premiered a couple of weeks ago out in Hollywood. It's actually already been nominated for an Oscar. And this is a story about it's a documentary about the devastation of what's actually happening in Chicago, even as we speak, about the violence, about the drive-by shootings, about the devastation to families, the suicides, the war, the ground war that's taking place in a city, of course, that um, our former President Hussein came from, and who didn't lift a finger to change anything there while he was in office. And so I was really impressed by this because the person who made the film was actually a drug dealer himself until he got saved and became a Christian. And so he went back to make this film, and I haven't seen it yet. I look forward to seeing it. It's a faith-based documentary, and so it's going to be premiering in certain cities. So you can go to the website and you can see when it's premiering. But the point of this is that this is a person who had a vision and who had a dream to do something about what's going on in Chicago, and he made a film about it, which is getting the attention of a lot of people. And one of the people that was actually featured in the film was a pastor called Doc. I don't know if he's a pastor, maybe a lay minister, named Dr. Donovan Price. And Dr. Price was actually on the call last night as well. And this man was talking to us about what he does in Chicago. Um, Delia, the Chicago film may have been mentioned at the Tulsa conference. Okay, so here's what Dr. Price does, and this is a man who is doing what he does because God asked him to. He didn't start out um, one day and say, I'm going to be the person that goes to shootings in Chicago and spends all my time listening to police scanners so that I can go and be there first on the scene when a child gets shot, or when there's a gang shooting in a neighborhood in Chicago. But that's exactly what he does. And God has called him to go into these places and to be boots on the ground, to be one of the first people. He often gets there before the first responders get there. So he'll hear a call on the police scanner and he'll go to the scene of the crime. and then he'll be there. So he'll be the first one on the scene. A lot of times he's ministering to the first responders, to the families. He's there with them. He's helping them make the arrangements. He's helping them arrange the candlelight vigils, the funerals, that kind of thing. Dr. Donovan Price, and it's very interesting because you know he's not famous in a way that most of us would know. He probably could be doing a lot of other things. And yet, he's been there, he's been on the front lines, and God has been using him to minister to families and in many cases to help save lives. And and to be that person that people call and that people lean on. He said that he's witnessed, he's been there in the past, I think 3 years. He's seen, I think, total of 1,000 deaths. So if you think about that, I believe that what's going on in Chicago, the statistics are that they've had more deaths than what we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. So so this is incredible, actually. And I think I have his website. If you want to see more about what he's doing, he's featured in the film, Dr. Donovan Price. But the thing about this that I think is so remarkable is that nobody really knows who he is outside of Chicago, probably, and yet he's on the front lines. He's right there, literally going from place to place. Let me just see if I can find it. I don't think I have his website. So, yeah, I mean, he's right there. He's holding the hands of mothers who are having to bury their children, or whose child gets paralyzed from a bullet wound. And I don't know what happened to my chat here. It may just have gone, or you guys stopped chatting. But this is I'm telling you this for a reason, and I'm going to tell you another story too. Partly because I want you to understand that good news is coming. That good news is coming out of what primarily is presented as tragedy every single day. When we look at the news, all we see for the most part is the negative. And if you recall last summer, it was like the summer of riots. Uh, we saw the autonomous zone that sprung up that was created in Seattle, and we saw Antifa burning cities, and there were certain channels that were, going in and just uploading footage of that nonstop. And that was and one of the things that I said during that time was that it's important that you don't focus just on that footage, uh, because it gets in your soul, right? And so I was really encouraged last night when I heard a story from Nathan French. Nathan French came on to the Zoom call as well. He's been on Elijah Streams. He's a pastor out in the Seattle area. And I think his church is called The Rock. I don't remember the full name of his church, but he's a pastor. And so he did something very interesting during the riots and the burning, and when the Antifa was occupying CHOP, they called it the autonomous zone. It wasn't, they gave it a new name, right? What did CHOP stand for? Something, anyway. So you remember that. But what he did was this. He was asked to take part in some of the evangelical outreach that was happening during that time. And so he said yes. And again, he's a pastor. Um, he's a pastor. Hey, Joanne, can you share that actually in my Telegram room? Because Facebook doesn't like external links. It actually hurts my page when you post links. So I would appreciate it if you would share it in the Telegram. It puts my page at the bottom of the algorithm when people put links up. So, but thank you for finding it. I appreciate it. Okay, so let me talk to you about what Nathan French said. This is an amazing story because he was asked to he was asked to take part in the evangelism that, people were going out during the riots. I don't know if you know that. People were oh, that's okay, Joanne, no problem. So the people were going out during the rioting, and they were evangelizing, and so that's pretty cool and amazing. We weren't really hearing about that. That wasn't making headline news, right? Fox News wasn't showing pictures of that. But what Nathan French said is that he got into the area, and God told him to start baptizing people, and they were having some worship services, and so he God told him to do that, but he didn't know. um in the chat, you have to post in my chat. Okay, all right, I'm going to stay on topic here. So he didn't know what he was going to do or how he was going to baptize people. God just told him to baptize people. And so he was asking, and here's the thing: when it comes to God, a lot of times we get an impression that God tells us to do something, and then we go and try to figure it out. But the part that we forget is that we can actually ask God because he already has the solution. I'm going to say that again. We can actually ask God how to do something because he already has the solution. And so he gives you the idea. And so instead of going and trying to figure it out yourself, you just say, okay, how do I do that? So this is what Nathan French did. And so then God showed him a dumpster. He said, use this empty dumpster. And he was like, okay, it's really dirty. And so Nathan French went and he actually cleaned out this dumpster. I'm talking like a dumpster with wheels on it, like in the city, an actual legit dumpster. And so he um so he cleaned out the dumpster, and then he didn't know how to put water in it. I mean, he's in the city, and I think they had turned off the water in the city, like the fountains weren't working or anything like that. They must have done that to keep people from bathing in the fountains. This is in Seattle. And so he says that um, he asked Holy Spirit, okay, what do I do? How do I get this thing filled up with water to baptize people? And so Holy Spirit said, that man over there has the key. And he sort of spotlighted a man in the crowd. And so Nathan French went over and said, excuse me, do you work for the city? And the guy said yes. And long story short, the guy turned on the water and helped Nathan French fill up the dumpster to baptize people. And so then he got the water in it, and then they rolled it up the hill to this worship service. And I don't know if it was one of Sean Foyt's. I can't remember the details on that. If Michelle was on here, she would tell me because she was on the same call. But anyway, so they get the baptismal pool, the dumpster, up to where the worship service is happening with water in it. And then and then he's looking around, he's like, okay, God, who am I going to baptize? And so then this little boy walks up, and Nathan French says to him, do you want to be baptized? And the boy said, yes, I do. And the crazy thing about this is that the mom said to Nathan French, she said, this is so crazy because when we left the house to come, he said that he wanted to get baptized today, and I told him that I didn't think he could because I didn't think they were doing baptisms at this service. And so he said, well, I'm just going to have faith that God will provide. And so he packed his swimsuit and his towel, and he brought it with him to the service, this outdoor worship service. And there comes Nathan French with a dumpster full of water and asks this child if he wants to be baptized. And so they baptized all these people that day in a dumpster. And then from that point on, they started having baptisms. It may have been lettuce worship. So the point that I'm getting to is that all of these people are people who are going about their business and they're just available to God. That's it. Because, Nathan French could have said, no, I'm not going to go and do this. Okay. Or he could have said, God, that's crazy. I can't baptize people out here because there's no water. Instead, he let God give him this incredibly creative solution to baptizing people. And he even gave an 8-year-old boy faith to say, I'm going to get baptized today. And he gave that boy a mother who didn't try to squash his dream, who allowed him and encouraged him to walk in faith and to declare in faith that there would be a way to get baptized that day. And so, I hear a lot of complaining. I see a lot of whining and complaining from people on social media, in chat, and things like that. And so sometimes it feels like I'm witnessing a lot of like an Eeyore spirit, right? It's not a good day. There's clouds in the sky, right? And everybody's looking at what's bad, but God is making opportunities everywhere for people to walk and to bring his kingdom into the atmosphere and to change the atmosphere and to believe for what he's going to do. And every single person that I've described is a person just like you and me. These aren't famous people that are out there using their influence to make a difference. Now that's important too. But somebody said something very interesting in the call last night, and I thought it was profound. They said God is using the nobodies because the somebodies have not done their job. I'm going to say that again. God is using the nobodies to advance his kingdom because the somebodies have not done their job. And I've talked about this because God has showed me this in a dream, that he's removing people from positions of influence and he's going to reveal the places that they have failed to do his will. The people who have been the people who have regarded man above God. And so this is a really important time. And the message that I'm bringing you today is that you are not a nobody. You're a somebody now because God is using the nobodies because the somebodies have not done their job. And so every single person here has the ability to say to God, what am I to do? I don't have faith, but you can give it to me. And when you get that little inkling from God, whether it's, go and help with the outreach in this city where people are burning things down, and go fill up a dumpster with water and just believe that I'm going to bring the people to get baptized. Or if your child says, I'm going to get baptized at this event, and they're not going to have baptisms, maybe encourage him in his faith and say, okay, let's believe God's going to make a way. Whatever it is, it's like it's like I've said all along, that God is looking for people who will say yes. God is looking for people who will participate and who will take imperfect action, who will just take the steps. So Nathan French, who just said, "Okay, I'll go to this place, and I'm going to look around and I'm going to listen and I'm going to be sensitive to Holy Spirit, and here I am filling up a dumpster to baptize people." Like, can you imagine that? Do you think he woke up that morning and said, okay, I've got it. I'm going to go and I'm going to find the nastiest, most disgusting dumpster with like hypodermic needles in it, and I'm going to sanitize it. And then I'm going to find somebody that can turn on the water for me, by golly, and I'm going to get this thing filled up, and then I'm going to stage it so that somebody's child comes and asks me to get baptized. That's not what happened. He just said yes. He said, "Yeah, I'll go help with evangelism. Sure, I'll do that." And then God gives him this idea. And so, sometimes those cockamamie ideas that you have are actually God ideas, because the thing is, when God moves, when he shows up to turn things around, when you look at the stories that happen throughout scripture, throughout history, he always does it in what people would describe as an impossible situation in the natural. Because, again, going back to Nathan French, if he showed up in the chop zone and he said, "I'm going to baptize people," the first thing people would say to him in the natural is, "Hey, they've turned off all the water. You can't even get water out of a fountain now because of the pandemic and because they don't want people using the fountains for bathing." Okay? So what God did there, it's because God wants people to see that he is actually the giver of ideas. He is the one that takes the nobodies and turns them into somebodies and says, "You are the somebody that I am looking for to say yes today." And the interesting thing is that, you know, um, the people that we're seeing emerge right now in this movement, whether it's the, Make America Great Again, whether it's the Patriot movement, whether it's the evangelical movement, not evangelical, but the spirit led movement. Um, a lot of them are people that 2-3 years ago were doing something completely different. And another example of that is, I was listening today to the interview that Steve Schultz did yesterday with Clay Clark on Elijah Streams. Some of you guys may have listened to that. It was on their YouTube channel, and then they took it down and put it up on the Elijah List. So ElijahList.com. And this is a story that's totally worth listening to, because essentially what they're talking about is the fact that years ago, uh, uh, Kim Clement prophesied not only about Donald Trump, but also about a man named Mr. Clark, who would help bring about a reformation in this nation. And I'm not going to tell you all of it, but what I'm going to tell you is in line with the theme of my podcast today, which is Send Me. And Clay Clark was a man who, up until about a year ago, um, up until about a year ago, he didn't really understand or believe in the prophetic. He got a message on his phone where somebody was sending him the video of Kim Clement talking about a man named Mr. Clark, and he thought it was weird. He had no idea what he was looking at. And he's a business coach. That's his thing. He's like Grant Cardone on steroids, okay? Like Gary V without bad language. And he helps people to grow their businesses, and he's very good at it. And when he was in his 20s, he got saved. He had an encounter with Jesus. Basically, God healed his son um, from blindness. And this was after he had told his wife to stop praying. God did it anyway. And so Clay Clark wasn't a man who was looking around for a way to serve God or a way to become famous in the kingdom. And he definitely wasn't looking around for how he could usher in the third great awakening in the West. And so when you listen to this story, the interview that he did with Steve Schultz, it really should jolt you out of any sense of complacency or defeatism, because it should impress upon you the amazing and mighty hand of God, and the fact that God exists outside of time, and that he can choose people, and that he asks the ordinary people of the world to participate. And when those people say yes, that is when mountains move. And that is when entire situations and atmospheres shift. It's because the nobodies of the world say, yes, I'm going to do this. And in the case of Clay Clark, again, he wasn't even initially starting out saying, I'm going to usher in the third great awakening. He was telling people what he discovered about the testing and the truth behind the pandemic and the models and the treatments. He was just teaching people that, and he kept getting shut down off of YouTube, which we know, of course we know why. But he was passionate about that because he was trying desperately to help pastors and business owners keep their businesses open. That was his desire. That was his heart's desire. That's what was keeping him awake at night, because he knew the truth and he was compelled to be the voice crying in a wilderness to help these people and to empower them to do what they were called to do, which is to run businesses and to keep the economy going and to have church and not be afraid of the powers that be. And so, out of that, when he started to do that, when he got the big idea to have, so this was over a year ago, okay? When he started doing that, he then got invited to the White House as part of the reopening ceremony that the president had in the Rose Garden back in July. He had no idea how he even got invited. It's just that people were noticing because he was taking action. He was taking imperfect action. He was going and trying to meet with people of influence. He was talking to business owners. He was making phone calls. He was praying and asking God to help him. And so God elevated him to a place where he got noticed even more, even to getting invited to the White House. Now, the point, he never started out saying, I'm going to get invited to the White House and I'm going to get recognized by President Trump. That wasn't his point. The whole point of what he was doing was to bring the truth to people and to help them preserve their businesses and keep their businesses open and feed their families and keep their employees employed. That's what he wanted to do. And he had a passion for the truth and he wouldn't stop telling the truth. And and it's such a beautiful story because then I encourage everyone to go and listen to it. It's on elijahlist.com. And they took it off of YouTube because he was talking about things that the Centers for Disease Creation don't like to hear. And so it's an amazing story. So let's go back to what I was saying. The story, the theme is send me. And so a lot of people get intimidated about actually taking part or doing something of substance or of consequence because they look at the finished product. They look at somebody like Clay Clark, and they look at somebody who has produced a documentary. They look at Dr. Price in Chicago, who's on the front lines. They look at somebody who's doing a podcast, and they think, I don't even know where to start. I don't see how I could make a difference. And the thing is, everybody that I've talked about literally just started by saying yes, including me. I started out by saying yes. I had no intention 3 years ago, 4 years ago, of doing a weekly, daily, every other day podcast. That wasn't on my radar. Um, I picked up my phone one day and started broadcasting because of a situation that I was in, and I felt like I needed to tell the story. That was it. And it turns out that that people like to listen to me, and then I had no intention of doing a regular show, and I was challenged by God and by friends to get on a regular schedule. And even then, I just said, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to do or um, how to make that happen. and I was just obedient. So it was just one step at a time. And is it perfect? No. I mean, I don't even like my website. I just did it in a weekend, right? And but there it is. And so are there things that I can improve on? Absolutely. But the thing is, I didn't wait until I got all of it perfect. I just started moving ahead and I took imperfect action. And every single person that I've talked about, every single person that I know that is in a position of influence has done that same thing. They have been able to answer the call by just saying, yeah, I'll do this. I'm gonna take up this mantle. And I know I know a lot of other examples, and I'm not going to go into detail about them right now. But in many cases, the people who are taking actions are the ones who were frustrated about a situation, and they were saying somebody should do something, and then God said, "I agree. Why don't you do it?" And so that could be you, and that's what I wanted to say to you today. Is God calling you to be that person? Um, you know, are you saying somebody should do something? And is God saying, yeah, you're that somebody? Again, because the somebodies have failed. And so is that you? Okay. So this is such a heartfelt message because it hits close to home for me too. I know that more is coming. I know that there are exciting things ahead for our nation, for me, for you, for your children, for your grandchildren. I know that President Trump is a president of legacy, and that everything that he does is about nations and generations. And so we're at a crossroads in time, and the call is going out. The cry from your heart is somebody needs to do something. And the answer from Holy Spirit is, you're that somebody. What are you going to do? That's the message for you today. You're the somebody. What are you going to do? And so he's just asking for you to say yes. That's it. That's it. Just to take up the mantle and say yes. Yeah. Just teeny tiny baby steps, you know? And it's different for everybody. For some of you, it's teaching somebody else how to talk to their boss about, taking off the mask, right? For some of you, it's you're going to go get trained to work in an election office and to make sure that you can have eyes on the process and get election integrity restored in your district. Um, for some of you, it could be that you're doing a letter writing campaign or a phone call campaign. I don't know exactly what it is for you. For some of you, it's your being a mom, being a dad, and training your children and school making the decision to homeschool them and to take them out of the indoctrination centers run by the government right now. That's a huge decision to make. And so don't underestimate where you are and what steps you're taking, but also don't use your fear or your perfectionism or your pride as an excuse to say, that's not me, I can't do that. It's time to dig deep and look for the yes, listen for the call, and find the yes. And sometimes you don't know until you start to move. Sometimes you have no idea what the next step is until you've actually said the yes. That's what I've found. You know, I had no idea what a lot of my yeses were until I said yes to small things. So, and I don't know what lies ahead, but there are a lot of things in my heart. Um, and so every one of you has that. It's exciting. This is such an exciting time to be alive. Such an exciting time to be alive. I'm just looking at the chat here. God will multiply your yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe it won't be that difficult as it will be in your gifting. Yeah, a lot of times it is. I was just telling a friend today, I think I showed you all a while back when I was cleaning out my storage room here at my parents' house. I found a blue ribbon that I had received when I was 11 years old. And who remembers that when I showed it? I got a blue ribbon for public speaking in 4 H. And I was 11. So think about that. All those years ago, who knew? And I think I remember the speech. I may be getting it mixed up with another one that I did, but it's incredible, isn't it? Because, I've had visions of speaking publicly, um, and God has told me that I'm a motivational speaker. And that's not something that I would have said to you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. What do you see in your future? Oh, I'm a motivational speaker. And I'm only just getting started. Um, I know that I'm going to be speaking on stage and in front of live audiences. As much as I love you guys, it's a very different experience when you're standing up in front of and you have a sea of people out in front of you. It's very different. But, God has already told me that I'm going to be doing that. It's just a question of when. So watch out for that. You'll see me on stage, and some of you will be there, and that'll be very exciting because you've been here all along, and so God gives us everything we need for every step of the way. And again, going back to the story that Nathan French was telling, he had no idea when he showed up that day to the CHOP area that he was going to be needing a dumpster to use to baptize people. Didn't know. But then God gave him the idea, and then God gave him the solution for how to make that work. So that's pretty cool. um, yeah. So God is good, and He's given every single one of you the ability to do the things that He's called you to do. He's not going to ask you to do something that He can't provide for, right? Um, okay, so does anybody have questions or comments here? I had other things that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know that I want to shift the mood right now. I feel like it's just a kind of a holy moment. Uh, I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff happening news-wise. That's why I have a Telegram channel. I'm sharing all that, Mary Grace Media Official. And if you're not in my Telegram chat, you can send me an email to get a link to that private chat. It's info@marygracemedia.com. And and then also don't forget that you can get your superfoods jam going, get on superfoods and do a transformation, a superfoods transformation going into the summer. This is a perfect time to change up your diet, to add organic superfoods. Anybody that wants to do that can write to me, info@marygracemedia.com, and make sure that you get a promo code from me so that you can save over $100 off of your entire order, off the retail of your entire order. So, so I think everybody is going to benefit from that. Yeah. And also, those of you who are already using superfoods, go and take a look at the zinc aid that came out. Even if you're not already using it, ask me about that. This is a whole food complex that has zinc and vitamin C and vitamin E and D. and it's all in one complex, and it's all made from real food, which a lot of supplements aren't. You have to be really careful about that. And they're having a special right now. So, info@marygracemedia.com. Make sure that you write to me about that. Okay, we're getting a report about the story that we told yesterday. I told you that a young man went, oh, Edme, how are you? I haven't seen you in so long on Facebook. Wow, I was thinking about you last week. Okay, so this is the report. Yesterday, I told you a story about a young man who was encouraged by one of my listeners to go and speak to his boss in Texas about wearing the mask. The mandate has been lifted in Texas, and yet this boss was insisting, and the young man said, I don't want to wear it anymore. And the boss threatened to fire him. And the young man stood his ground. And I was encouraging all of you, especially if you have if you have children or family members who are in sort of entry level jobs, that these industries are so desperate for workers that you actually have the leverage to be able to say, I'll work for you, but I'm not wearing that thing. And so this is what he did because the manager couldn't afford to lose him. And so we're getting um, okay, so we're getting a report here. It says the boss just got told. So the boss who threatened to fire this young man got told by HR, the regional manager, that the mask doesn't have to remain on employees if they don't want to wear it. If this young man had not pushed, he would not know this now. And so this is so perfect, guys. This is right in line with what I'm talking about because we become nation changers by starting as situation changers. Okay, you don't start as a nation changer. You start as a situation changer and an atmosphere changer. And so this young man, even though he knew he might lose his job, he had the courage to go and say to his boss, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't have to. It's not a law. And I'll transfer to another store if you insist. That's it. He took that step. He took that action. He didn't know exactly, even from minute to minute, what he was going to say, but he had the courage to do it. And so then it says his coworkers heard the argument and told him that they were proud of him for standing up. See, that's so perfect. That is so perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. You become a nation changer first by taking imperfect action and be a situation changer. This young man gave his coworkers the courage to do something that they hadn't even known they could do. That's it. That's how we do it. Okay? Um yeah. Okay. Delia has points now. Perfect. Okay, thanks for sharing. Yes. Okay, your actions speak louder than speak volumes, and you aren't even aware that you had an impact on someone. That's how God works. He shines his light on the ones that don't expect or want to be recognized. True works. Exactly. So this is kind of cool because I was in he should have asked for a raise too. Minnie says that he should have asked for a raise, Millie. Okay, now he should he should go ask for a raise. Who told the young man how to do it? Millie told him how to do it because Millie has been listening to me on my show, and so she went and told him. And a lot of a lot of these young people, they don't know how to have a confrontation. They're scared. He was scared of losing his job. He said, "I have to pay my bills," but he took the step and he did it. He stood up for himself, and she was helping him. So that's what I'm saying. So here I am talking about this. Sometimes I feel like a broken record, but I'm a teacher at heart, so I'm trying to teach people the strategies, and then people are taking the information and they're disseminating it and sharing it. And this happened to me a couple weeks ago in Sam's Club. I was there with my dad, and I saw a woman who had the thing hanging off of her ear, and I said, just take it all the way off. And she kind of hesitated, and I gave her some strategies. I said, look, if anybody says anything to you, I just ask them I said, just tell them you're going to call the police, because they're harassing you, and it's actually assault, and ask them if their employer is going to provide a lawyer for them if you take them to court. And uh and so, I was telling her this, and she was all ears. And then as I was telling her, a little crowd gathered around, and those people were listening. And so remember, sometimes the things that you say in public are not just for the person that you're talking to. They're for the other people who are listening. Just like on social media, sometimes the arguments you're making on Facebook, they're not actually for the person that you're debating with. They're actually for the people who are going to read the comments later and who might have a softer heart because the ground has already been plowed. And so you're planting seeds. And so this woman in Sam's Club, she just ripped that thing off. She put it in her purse, and she said, "I'm not wearing this thing." And so it's just those little things. Okay, so Millie is giving us a report on YouTube. Okay, he refused to be moved. He stood his ground. Exactly, and that's it. And imagine how good he feels now. Imagine how his faith has increased. Um, so that's just awesome. In a waiting room today, 8 different women without masks, one tall athletic fellow with a mask. Okay, I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Men, it's time to step up. It's time to have courage. It's time to take that face diaper off and step into your into your manhood. Okay. Okay, Millie is saying he's 22 years old, did the right thing, so proud of him. He's my daughter's boyfriend. I kept encouraging him through text as it was happening. That's how we do it, guys. Just one step at a time. Just take a step, take a stand, take a step. That's the message for today. And so, and he influenced, and he wasn't doing it just so that his coworkers would listen. He probably was wishing that nobody was listening because he probably felt embarrassed. But everybody was paying attention. And now they understand how to do it. And now they have courage. That's it. That's all it takes, is just one person making a decision to say yes. And that's how we become nation changers. That's it. Isn't that awesome? God is so good. He rewards that action. You know, faith without works is dead. That's what we mean by works. You just take action. Just take imperfect action. And the thing is, in his situation, this young man, maybe they could have said no, but he also had leverage. He knew, or he found out later, that other stores weren't actually being so strict. And so he could have transferred. So he didn't know that at the time. Okay. Um High five to the young 22-year-old. Exactly. So his coworkers came up to him the next day and told him he did the right thing. They were so proud, right? Isn't that just amazing? Standing up for the truth is never a bad thing to do, and learning how to do it diplomatically, and yet still having taking a stand and refusing to back down. That's an important skill to learn, and a lot of people don't have it. And hopefully I'm helping people here to be able to do that, because I'm a little bit stubborn, as you probably figured out. I'm not really one to back down. Millie, you are empowering a future leader. Exactly. Yeah. I think he did inspire a lot of his coworkers. That's for sure. Yeah. It's a good life lesson. Yeah. Yep. It's awesome. I love that. I love those stories. I love hearing stories like that. So if you have a story like that, please tell me. It's really good. Really good. So good, so important. And we can do it without being nasty. Even though sometimes they think we're being mean, because sometimes people are just automatically positioned to think of themselves as victims. That's on them. But we can actually stand our ground, and we can speak truth, and we can stand up for what we believe in, and still be kind, and still be have integrity. That's important to be able to do that. So, okay, any more comments here? I'm going to be signing off here soon. I know. I love these success stories. I love it. Love, 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 love these success stories. By the way, those of you who are in California, there's going to be a Health and Freedom Conference in Anaheim in July. I think the middle of July. So the one in Tampa is June 16th, 17th, 18th. It's at Rodney Howard Brown's church, and they're going to be doing baptisms in the bay after that in the evenings. And then in July, there's going to be a Health and Freedom Conference with Clay Clark out in Anaheim. So, California peeps, get ready. You might want to start booking your rooms. I don't have the exact dates though. He mentioned it today, or he mentioned it on the interview yesterday with Elijah Streams. Clay Clark is a fast talker, so I think he may have thrown out the dates. If anyone got it, if anybody got the date, please tell me, because he talks a mile a minute. The crazy thing is, he said he couldn't talk when he was a kid. He stuttered, and everybody made fun of him. That's God. Greg on YouTube is saying big discrepancies found in the Arizona audit. Got an official update. That doesn't surprise me. I'll tell you who's doing really good, amazing updates on the Arizona audit is Praying Medic. He's sharing a lot of information from a lot of different sources. And the other thing I wanted to tell you, I didn't even get a chance to go over the posts that were put up last night, or the chat that came up in George News on YouTube last night. I did share all of those screenshots in my official channel. Okay. All right, let me see here. Okay. Oh, somebody put a Keith Green song in my Telegram. That's awesome. Oh, by the way, the Centers for Disease Creation, they came out with new rules about the mask. Basically, if you're vaccinated, you can get away with anything. You can go around unmasked. You don't have to distance if you're fully vaccinated. If you're not, which it's totally against HIPAA to ask somebody if they are, but apparently if you're not, you can barely do anything. You don't even have a right to exist practically. Is anybody surprised by that? Okay, so they came out with this chart that shows, like, see the left side, the green. So you've got a blank ticket to life and freedom if you're fully dosed up. Okay. And then on the other side, right, there's very few things you can do. Crazy. All right. You can walk, run, wheelchair roll, or bike outdoors with members of your household. I think it's hilarious. Okay. Attend a small outdoor gathering with fully vaccinated family and friends. That's all you can do without a mask, unless you get the thing. I just think that's hilarious. I mean, at this point, it's comedy, right? Okay, CDC, sure. The crazy thing is, like, the people that are choosing not to get it are the people that are already not following their recommendations. So, what makes them think that we're going to go get that chart and carry it around and go, okay, let me see, what activity am I doing right now? Okay, dine at an outdoor restaurant with friends from multiple households. Oh, gotta put the face diaper on. I didn't get my jab yet. Okay, here's one. Okay, go to an indoor movie theater. Nope, gotta wear it. Least safe. I'm the least safe person on the planet. Okay, attend a full capacity worship service. Nope. All right. Here's one. Sing in an indoor chorus. Now, if you're fully covered, you're fully juiced up, you don't have to wear that face diaper to sing. But if you're not, put on the face diaper. You filthy swine. Show me your papers. Come on, people. Yeah, a bunch of unelected bureaucrats. I didn't vote for them. Didn't vote for you guys. Gonna do what I want. Can you imagine being a restaurant? You know, you're at a restaurant. You're happy to get your restaurant opened again because you've spent a year listening to Dr. Death tell you that you may or may not be able to live your life freely again ever. And then your government tells you that you have to check people's papers before you can escort them to a table with or without the face diaper. Yeah, no, not going to do it. It's time for people to say no. Just say no. Just stop it. Just stop the nonsense. And they already said, we already know people are still getting it. Yeah, people who had the thing. I would rather they wear the mask, to be honest, because they're the ones that are spitting spike proteins all over the place. Don't get me started. Okay. But remember, I told you the loophole, right? I told you that that medication that the president talked about last year that got everybody shut down for talking about it starts with an H. That one, that's the one that Dr. Fauci said was an effective vaccine against SARS viruses. So if you get on it, then you can say, yes, I'm in the green category. I can walk around unmasked. That, and I also have an immune system. It's right. It's my mask is inside me. It's my immune system. That's it. So crazy. These people are crazy. They're powered. They're drunk with power. Drunk with power. Okay. Guys, I'll be back on Monday. I'll be back on Monday at 5:30 Eastern on this channel. This is a great show today. I appreciate everybody's comments and participation in the chat. It's wonderful. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here. And then don't forget, info@marygracemedia.com. Send me a request for your promo code to get your superfood, save $100 off. Make sure you get the zinc aid. Is it a HIPAA violation for them to ask for a card? Yeah, most likely. Yeah, they've thrown out HIPAA and ADA. It's like it never existed because it doesn't apply anymore. Furthermore, my body, my choice. Nope, memory hold never existed. Gone. They don't do that anymore. Doesn't apply. Anyway, I'll see everybody on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend.